I'll be the first to admit that I didn't think this was going to work at all. When the Nuggets signed Russell Westbrook as a free agent in the offseason, the best thing I could say about the deal was that it was a great bargain for the team. Asking a player who was used to dominating the ball to exist on a team that focuses on supreme ball and player movement seemed a bridge too far. After all, Russ had never been a guy who cut without the ball. And this Nuggets team had a clear pecking order where he'd have to plug in as the third or even fourth ball handler at times. But everything seemed to change once they put him in the starting lineup 15 games ago. Before that, they were doing okay at 16-12 with a 6th ranked offense and a 15th ranked defense. Over the past 10 games, where Russ and Jokic started together, the Nuggets have won 9 of those games. And you can see a clear uptick in Westbrook's numbers when playing alongside the top 4. The schedule has certainly been favorable, as they haven't beaten the top 6 team in either conference yet, but we can't overlook how well Russ has been able to blend into their offense. If we examine how often he'd receive passes on cuts for shots at the rim, let's just say it was a foreign concept to him. There were years he'd barely do it 1% of the time, so you can imagine my surprise to see him up that number to 9.3% of his possessions used. And when he plays alongside Jokic, the offense functions better than their overall offensive rating, indicating to me that they're able to put more pressure on the defense by combining the incredible passing ability of their big man with a guard who has led the league in assists per game no less than 3 different seasons. I think it's important to understand how far Russ has come to make this work. Nowadays, you'll see him cutting to the hoop and playing off of Jokic for a lot of easy buckets. If we go back to his time in Houston, after his effectiveness started to wane a little bit, we can see just how far he's come now with his ability to move without the ball. He became the guy the defense would ignore to double Harden, and he seemed to struggle with timing, angles, and finishing these plays. Or he would just stand back in the corner while his man could turn towards Harden and force the turnover, and it was because of his lack of gravity that the next few teams he played on had to limit him to around 20 minutes a game. But he's now cutting 9 times more often than in his prime. And while he's not incredibly efficient at these, he's making enough of them to cause some real problems for the defense. One way Nuggets head coach Michael Malone made it easy for Russ is to have him and Jokic screen for each other to force a switch. The double ball screen so close to the basket sees Lively pick up Russ for fear of an explosive drive with one dribble for a layup. That means Dinwiddie has to mark Jokic at the nail, giving up 100 pounds and 6 inches. Russ immediately cuts to the hoop, Lively takes the bait to support his smaller teammate, and Jokic easily throws the ball over the top for the open layup. The Mavericks adjusted by putting a bigger player on Russ with hopes that the switch wouldn't pose such a huge mismatch. PJ Washington offers some resistance, but Lively's job is to protect the rim, and he can't resist leaving Russ to contest the jump hook. When Dinwiddie doesn't bump down to help the helper, it's a nice wraparound pass for a lefty layup to finish off this game. But it's not just Russ who's benefiting from forcing these switches. They'll have him screen for Jokic at the elbow, which caused mass confusion over who's guarding the ball. This allows them to run a little 2-man game where Jokic gets to cut to the hoop, receive the nice pass, and finish before Wemby can react. Anybody playing alongside Jokic is going to be the beneficiary of his intense gravity when he decides to go down low and post up. He can almost see into the future and know exactly when and where to pass the ball with the same kind of vision you can have when playing Prize Picks. This is by far the most fun I have had on any app when trying to figure out whether players will get more or less in certain stats. They've got a special for the NFC Championship. Jaden Daniels only needs 1 passing yard for you to win 1 square. Will Jalen Hurts rush for more than 31 yards? Make sure to check the Prize Picks app daily for up-to-date player projections, and you can now win up to 1,000 times your money, and I know when these picks hit, I'll get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Best of all, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's hard to believe Russ ever hits the under on his points considering teams incessantly double Jokic off of him. I suppose the scouting report is that Russ doesn't finish that well around the basket and can make mistakes, but the sheer volume of assists on layups Jokic is racking up as teams continually double off the cutter is mind-boggling. I mean, when I coach defense, I never let the defender of the cutter double the post, because anyone can make this type of pass, and the shot will be point blank every time. And yet, a lot of NBA coaches are either not paying attention or encouraging it as part of their game plan. OKC continued to leave Russ over and over in their game back in November. Clearly, this was Mark Daniels' defensive strategy, and I'm all for having the courage of your convictions, but you also need to adjust when things aren't working. Maybe Dort was freelancing on these, but it cost them dearly as they gave up a lot of points on this action, all of which proved crucial considering the Nuggets were able to pull this game out in a 2-point win. The triangle offense is alive and well in Denver, where they use pinch post action a lot. Jokic sets up at the elbow, Russ feeds him, then follows his pass to the outside looking for either the handoff here or he can keep going and receive the pass for a layup. Their chemistry continues to get better and better as Russ gets the handoff, encounters help and finds Jokic, who turns down a mid-range shot in favor of an even better shot back to Russ. What makes this action hard to guard is that Russ can read the defense and cut to the inside if that's what's open, using his speed and explosiveness to get open for the nice dish from Jokic. And it's a play they can flow into at any time, especially as the shot clock winds down. You can imagine Jokic being able to generate a good shot from this position even if he can't find Russ on the nice cut to the hoop. Speaking of the triangle, the third option is called blind pig, and I caught a juicy one against the Nets. If Russ is denied the pass out top, Jokic shapes up underneath him for the pass, and that triggers the backdoor cut and a gorgeous fake pass lefty finish for Westbrook. Can I has more, please? I also like the split cuts they run with Jokic in the high post, where Russ can either set or fake a screen for the guard on top before backdooring. The setting of his screen causes his man to relax, thinking Russ is not a threat to receive the ball, and that's when he cuts. It's a real pleasure to see someone adopt this style of play so late in his career. But we're not just seeing this as a one-way street. Russ has been able to repay the favor and help Jokic get easy buckets as well. His aggressive drives to the hoop tend to draw the attention of the big man, and Jokic knows where to be. And he just seems to know he needs to cut even with his back completely to the play, as Russ gets up in the air just as Jokic begins his cut from 23 feet out. The nice bounce pass gets the ball there, and Jokic knows how to finish the rest. The slightest glance from Jokic can signal to Russ that he's going to cut, catching the entire Nets team asleep at the wheel on this gorgeous pass.
I just love the connection because I just need to look at him and I think he knows exactly knows what I'm thinking. So he just waited. I'm kind of a little slower, so he just waits me to get to the spot, and he passed it over on the right time.
Here's an example of what Jokic is talking about, where they need only make a little eye contact, and Russ patiently waits till Jokic can leverage himself behind the defense to receive the on-time and on-target pass for the dunk. Or they can rub Jokic off a quick backscreen at the elbow, allowing Russ to focus on how the play develops and throwing another 50-foot strike over the defense for the nice finish. Russ is also willing to take risks most other players are not, like coming off this handoff and avoiding the normal bounce pass to fire a chest pass through the narrowest of windows, somehow not getting deflected and leading directly to the rare Jokic dunk. And as the shot clock winds down, you can almost see Russ sending a cosmic signal for Jokic to cut backdoor behind his man, where he can fire this pass to the air in front of Jokic, who snatches it before it heads out of bounds and easily lays it in. The difference in this Nuggets team over the past 15 games when Russ was slotted into the starting lineup is undeniable, especially the uptick in their offensive rating and winning percentage. It's even possible they cracked the code by bringing Aaron Gordon off the bench so they can get some scoring punch in the non-Jokic minutes, which had been killing them for a long time. While all this is cause to celebrate for Nuggets fans, I am worried about some of the things Russ hasn't changed about his game, especially when they start going up against the good teams. He has found a nice rhythm from behind the arc the past 15 games, but he had started out the season closer to 30%, so I wonder how sustainable an above-average percentage will be. All those cuts out of their offense are necessary to combat his lack of gravity, and like I said, it's great to see him adjust his game so dramatically to punish the defense. But his efficiency on cuts is average, and he's always had some struggle at finishing around the rim even in his prime. So this could be cause for concern as the pressure mounts against better teams, which usually means better rim protection. If we zoom out on all his offensive possessions, we see that his ranking among the 100 players in the NBA who have used at least 500 possessions so far is 94th. That's a lot of misses from all around the court, and I just don't know if the Nuggets could compete deep into the playoffs relying on a starter so woefully inefficient. What's even more concerning to me is his turnover percentage. He struggled with this his whole career, and he currently is tied for highest turnover percentage in the league. They mostly deal with his passing when he gets going too fast and can't process what the defense is doing quickly enough, or gets into too tight a space with no angle or ability to get the ball through. It's a little surprising to me that he hasn't improved a ton in this area over the course of a very long and distinguished career, and they're certainly overcoming these types of strange decisions and off-target passes. But again, these are currently happening against the Portlands, the Utahs, and the Miamis of the NBA. If you do this too often against good teams, they'll make you pay in the loss column. And I'm hopeful that Malone and Jokic can help mitigate these plays, minimizing them enough so that their cutting brilliance can shine through and win a playoff series. The best part of all this is the vibes, as these two have found each other and have raised their individual talents to a different level.
You guys look like you've been playing together your entire careers.
Man, he's the best player in the world. My job is to make the game easy for him, and he does it for everybody else. And it's a pleasure to be able to share the floor with him.
I think people and teams that he was past misunderstand him and didn't give him the opportunity to be who he is.
And that might be enough to surprise some people come playoff time.